around and disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, and this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
Ooh. What's up, everybody? It's your boy. It's the fuck is on my desk? It's the hardest part of the ring. Got a little jism on my desk, apparently. Well, you know, it suits the episode today because we're talking about some ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, Heatwave 1995. Whoo, man! The show's called Heatwave, but it really should have been called, like, I don't know, room temperature wave. I don't know. I'll think of something funnier and put it in post. But yeah, Heatwave 1995. It is very much the classic ECW. Well, it's the classic ECW from what I've watched. So it's very on brand based on what I've covered so far. 94, 95. It's man, got Sandman defending the title against Axl Rotten, which, like, I was kind of excited for because I was like, man, I've watched the journey of Axl with no E, and man, what a wet fart of a this show is really just I can't remember if we said this in the recording or not, but if I had to describe this show, it's a very monotone show. It was very, like, we'll get into it. I'm not going to step on the toes of what we my cat's running wild. I'm not going to step on the toes of what we talk about in the episode, but a lot of the shenanigans that you love, hate, are indifferent on about ECW in 1995. Wrestling as a whole in 95 is just in a It's a rough one. I mean, it has its charm at some points, but I mean, Mabel, we got the Dungeon of Doom, and now we got this. We got Luna Vachon versus Stevie Richards in a steel cage match. So it's like we got 2 steel cage matches on this show. We got a rerun, another Hack Meyers match that we've already seen before, but if for whatever reason they dubbed it great enough to just put on another show. And STORMIN Mike Normin, of course, which I know is why all of you are tuning in today to hear about. So lots to talk about, and we have a good old time with myself and my guest Kenny from the Kenny for Your Thoughts podcast. Or, you know, it's a not a defunct podcast. It's a dormant. It's in hibernation, his podcast. But still very active on Twitter. So go follow Kenny on Twitter at AKFYT Wrestling. Follow him on Instagram as well. Same handle, I believe. All his info in the description below. A great follow on the social medias. And go listen to his podcast retroactively. He's a good boy, this Kenneth. So go check that out. And check me out, apronbump.com, for all my full episodes as well. If you like the ECW, I suggest you, Steve, or whatever, go to apronbump.com. You can go to the episodes tab at the top, and you can select ECW. And that'll bring you to all of my ECW shows that I've covered thus far. Starting all the way back from November to Remember 1994, all the way, every show up till now. Or, go to your whatever podcast platform tickles your pickle, search for ECW, however you want to do it. But I've talked a lot about ECW on this podcast, and it's always a good time. So go check that out. Maybe buy a shirt if you fancy, a little apron bump action. Feels good on your skin and your nipples. So check that out on my social media. Plug it away. They call me Pluggy Plugster, huh? I'm sorry. I'm very I don't like doing these when the softest part of the ring is here. I feel like a silly goose when I'm talking to myself, which ultimately I'm doing. It's like if I'm talking to somebody in an episode, if I'm on the phone with somebody, I'm talking to a person. But here it's like, yep, goers, here's the show, folks. I feel like a silly goose sometimes. So if I seem a little on anal here, that's why. But that was not the case for the episode. So let's get to it. What are we talking about? ECW Heatwave 1995 with myself and Kenny from the Kenny For Your Thoughts podcast. Or he's just a guy, I don't know, he's just kind of hanging out now. You can probably find him on the street in Paducah, Kentucky. I think he hangs out at the local pinball arcade, so you can probably find him there. Is that a shirt, though? Hey, nice shirt, huh? What are the odds?
Pandas and the same wrestling shirt.
God, we look fucking repulsive. Just two Pacific Island Asians with two pandas and the same shirt. That's where not Cambodian. Fuck, what is it? Hold on. Give me a second.
Filipino?
I'm Filipino. You're not Filipino, right?
No, I'm Malaysian. I'm right next door.
Yeah. The other Mexican Asian.
Right, that's why we look Spanish.
Yes, exactly. We're both Wheeler Yutas. So
right. If you combine us into one specific wrestler, we'd be Wheeler Yuta. Dude, maybe if we just lose a couple pounds, though, brother. We're getting a little up there,
There have been at least 3 or 4 people independent of you that have told me I look like Wheeler Yuta, just for no reason.
But that's why you got so pissed off at me, because I think I was the first person. But I think was it you that called me Wheeler Yuta?
Yeah, and then I was just look more like Wheeler Yuta than I do.
And then I was like, you look like Wheeler Yuta, not me. And then no one's called me Wheeler Yuta since. So
no, you're just who do you get called? Who's the Indian guy from Impact?
Rajit.
Yeah, that's you.
Raju. Yeah, that's me.
Spot on.
Rohit, there it is. That's why I got it messed up. Rohit Raju.
There it is. God bless you. But the real question is, which one of us looks more like Hack Meyers?
I hope for our sakes, none of us.
Yeah, that's we need a little shave one side of our head and smell. So
look like a hack. Get it?
Oh, because that's his name.
Right. It was a diss in the 90s, right? You look like a hack,
Yeah. So was
right.
Whoop, there it is. Yeah, did you ever say that back in that? Because you're a bit older than I am, so. Did you ever that was Too Cold Scorpio's thing. I think he would end his promos with Whoop, there it is.
I thought Public Enemy did that crap too.
I think they all did, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Man, the Peacock version, you quickly realize how little value Public Enemy has without their theme song.
Yeah. And I think you had, somebody, I won't say who, had sent me the original link to the original airing, I should say, and I wanted to watch that, and in hindsight, I probably should have. I ended up watching the Peacock version, because I love nothing more than to dabble with the cock.
Yes.
And, better quality television. But unfortunately, I feel like a lot of that show was cut out.
Well, it was
version.
It was the same length, so I'm pretty sure it was the same stuff, just dubbed over music and maybe some stuff bleeped out. But that link that person sent you, it's usually not that bad of quality. But I clicked on and it was in one ear, and It was up my ass, and it was a whole thing. So I was like, can't do that.
Well, I'm jealous.
Yeah, so I went to the Peacock instead.
Speaking of which, so you are engaged now. I have a girlfriend now. What's going on?
Oh, yeah. I feel like we're just got a couple bears in our lives, and
Right, and we got. I can barely stand it.
come on now. Good. We're almost out of this pandemic.
Right. It's been pandemonium.
Right. It's good thing I'm not looking at you in panoramic view.
Damn it!
Or else
that was
I'd be,
good. That was good. That was good.
Yep.
I got nothing. I'm done. You won.
This is the first this is a 30-minute segment of the Apron podcast, so I'm gonna need you to think of some more.
Well, we did watch ECW Heatwave '95.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to fill this time with something right now because it was an interesting show.
It was something. By the way, did you see the title of the room that we're in here?
I didn't. Meatwave '95.
Yeah.
Hey,
because it's like
I get it.
Sean Stasiak.
Did you see my name on the? I don't know if people can see what name I chose for this.
Big Ken Puccio. That's
Big Ken Puccio. That's right.
You a big Valpuccio guy?
I am. I am probably the only person who's president of the Valpuccio fan club here in Florida. It's just really just me, some Kool-Aid, and some Oreos every month.
Wow.
Talking about a promo that he did on Hack Meyers.
Man, the Florida subdivision of the Valpuccio fan club. That's got to be.
Well, you get the mailers, right? Every month.
Yeah, I got them somewhere. They're in my basket.
Hey yo,
of junk mail.
hey yo, I'll send you one, yo. That's my Valpuccio impression, which is not good.
Wait, how do you? Did he cut a promo on this show?
Well, we'll get there.
Okay, you know what?
Well, he didn't. He didn't. But I'm a bigger ECW fan than I let on. I know I've never done an ECW show with you, but yeah, you know, I'm from New York. I was a bad kid, so I stayed up till 2 a.m. trying to watch Francine's $6,000 breasts.
The most expensive thing on the show. So yeah, were you watching like during this time in '95?
No, like honestly, I wasn't watching during this time, so I kind of had to go back and you know, I'm talking about in later years, I had to kind of go back and watch this stuff. But I probably came in around 96 more, 97. But I came in, I would say, peak ECW. To me, that's peak ECW because you see a quality difference in this show compared to like even 96 Heatwave or 97 Heatwave.
Right.
It's like vastly different.
Yeah, because 96 played after this, and I saw like a few seconds of it, and I was like, man, this is like a whole different thing.
Right, and that's actually why I made that joke about Francine's boobs, because she says something like that of like, that suit, how much did that suit cost you? And then she's like, not as much as these $6,000 breasts or something. So yeah.
Is that how much tits cost?
Apparently $1996. That's how much tits cost. Can someone watching or listening to this right now go run that back what that is in $2022, please?
Yeah,
thank you.
Get back to me. Call in if you know.
Right.
But
1-800 what's the ECW hotline? Shit.
Oh man. Do they have 911 probably, right?
Hey,
come on,
call 911.
Man, I'm just unloading some foreshadowing all over this right here.
Right.
Got anything to say?
No, I was actually trying to Google ECW's hotline because it was like one ECW.
I wonder if it's
hotline.
still active. It's just fucking Bill Alfonso in a closet somewhere.
Let me tell you something, Daddy. I'm gonna tell you, ECW was the greatest thing ever, but Daddy, woo! Like, I don't know. He's probably still on crack somewhere. But
I don't think that's how he talks. But okay.
Huh?
You ready to rage in the cage?
You don't know how Bill Alfonso talks?
He talks like this. I'm gonna shut this whole show down. Yeah. So.
Which segues us into the opening of ECW.
Man, this guy hasn't podcasted in 5 years, but he still knows how to segue into something.
That's right.
Ooh.
That is right.
Man, well, that impression deserves some booze, but man, the booze that Bill Alfonso got in the beginning of this show were Jesus Christ.
Monster heat.
I mean, he's still like relatively new at this point. This is probably like his third or fourth show or something, but people were like throwing beer cans in the ring. And
for context, right, he had been like a referee for the WWF and had done some other things backstage, right? and then he's like on air with ECW now. So like you said, I mean, this guy knew heat. I mean, no pun intended, Heat Wave 95, but
Nice.
Yeah, like, holy crap. The reaction he gets, like, you would have thought Sammy Guevara walked out in front of AEW fans.
It's topical. But yeah, he's like, like you say, he's very much like represents the WWE kind of mindset, I guess. He hates the extreme stuff, which is like, and because this isn't peak ECW, but this is very much a period where they're like trying to figure out what their identity is, because they're still only like, I don't know, 8 or 9 months after their rebrand into Extreme Championship Wrestling. So it's like a whole different mindset that they're working out the kinks, I guess. But Bill Alfonso is kind of the antithesis of what ECW is supposed to be at this point. And then, so Bill Alfonso, he's talking. You can't really hear any of the promos on the show, but he's saying something.
No, it was hard. It was hard to hear anything on the show, and I think that's why it took me out of it. Which, you know, kudos to like all these other wrestling companies, even like independent wrestling companies nowadays. Like the technology that we have now, it's like you could still hear, you know, promos from like indie shows that are recorded on an iPhone. But back in these days, I'm like, they're using actual equipment. You could barely. The mixing is horrible. You know?
Yeah, it's rough. But whatever he's saying, I'm sure I would boo it as well. So Todd Gordon gets in the ring.
What would you say if you were Bill Alfonso?
If what? If I was just
yeah.
Well, welcome to the Apron Bump podcast. I got some pandas. Let's suck each other's dicks.
I don't know.
I like it.
Couldn't think of anything, so I just revert to penis. Speaking of penises, we got 2 of them in the ring here. Todd Gordon, I'm assuming. I don't know. Bill Alfonso and Todd Gordon. So Todd Gordon is pretty much just the on-screen commissioner, I guess. I think it was his title.
The owner of ECW. Yeah, the Commissioner Todd Gordon is exactly what they called him. Yeah,
of course. And so amongst like the muffled noise that you can hear them talking about Shane Douglas, who just recently left ECW and is at this point Dean Douglas. Were you a fan of either iteration of Mr. Douglas here?
Dean Douglas, I hated with a passion, but Shane Douglas is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you watch later stuff, the franchise is just amazing on commentary when he's injured and stuff like that. He did really well on the mic, which I think he's an underrated talker. I think a lot of people forget how good someone like a Shane Douglas was and how pivotal he was to the history of ECW. Right. I feel like he gets lost in that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, just from what I've seen, because I saw a little bit of Shane before this show, and I mean, he's like, I don't know, maybe it's just in comparison to everybody else on the show, but like as far as mic skills go, he's 500 levels above everybody. So
right, and he looks the part too. He looks like he belongs in a big federation, you know, not to take a shot at ECW, but like he stands out like a sore thumb, you know, so they called him the franchise for a reason.
Yeah.
Massive cock, by the way. Massive cock.
Yeah. Wait, what?
The Peacock Network has become massive WWE subscribers in the last year.
I just said like, Shane Douglas, big cock, yeah. It's a well-known fact.
Right.
But So you can't really hear anything, but they're kind of jaw-jacking back and forth because it's like a power struggle between Bill Alfonso and Todd Gordon.
Right, and the new regime versus the old regime and the new style versus the old style kind of stuff. So
yep.
Yeah.
So Bill, he gives Todd a count of 10 to get out of his ring, or he's gonna shut this whole thing down. And he gets to around 5, and
I'll shut it down, Daddy.
Yeah, he's not Dusty Rhodes.
No, Dusty Rhodes is more like this, baby.
Okay, that's fair. Wait, do your first impression again?
I said, I'll shut it down, Daddy.
That's somebody. It's like Luna Vachon more so.
No, Luna Vachon is more like this.
All right, we'll have more Luna later. Just don't burn your fucking throat out before we get there.
That's only why I'm here.
Huge spear from Todd Gordon. Just probably the most impactful move on this entire card. Crowd's into it. And Bill Alfonso.
Crowd's hot.
At this point, yeah, they are.
The crowd's hot, yeah.
It's a heat wave, kind of. They're all hot. That's why almost all of them are shirtless. So Bill Alfonso. No, they were though. They like. Did you see them? They were in like most of the guys
Oh,
were
I know.
shirtless.
Oh, I know.
Take your shirt off. Okay. So, so what happens here is Todd gets thrown out, suspended, I guess. I was hoping we'd get a match between these two. I mean, you had the cage set up. You might as well throw these guys in the cage. But
When did Todd get pushed out of ECW? Because I know there was a time period where he was thought to be the stooge of ECW for WCW. And he got pushed out, and Paul Heyman kind of went into charge. And I'm wondering if this like pseudo suspension or anything was him doing that. But I don't know. I didn't research.
it seemed pretty definitive. So this very well could have been that part. But honey, you got a big storm coming. Then for this first match here, it's Mikey Whipwreck versus STORMIN Mike Normin. STORMIN Normin. What's your favorite?
You could have
STORMIN Normin match.
You could have 7 matches or just one. And then here we are at match number 1 with STORMIN Normin, which at first, I'm not going to lie, I was half paying attention. And I was like, Lance Storm? And then I forgot, because I'd forgotten about STORMIN Normin. So that's to tell you my favorite STORMIN Normin match.
So you don't have one? Okay.
No.
Any other Storm? Tony Storm? Lance Storm? Tim Storm? Anybody?
Screaming Norman Smiley.
Yeah? Man, just put them all in a battle royal and see what happens.
Right. I'm going for Screaming Norman Smiley just because. Big wiggle.
What you doing there? Okay.
Rubbing the Ultimate Warrior, apparently.
So what? So I'm not very familiar on the STORMIN Normin fella, but this crowd seems to hate his guts.
Hey, who is this guy? Huh? with the storm, with the storm and the thunder and the lightning, huh?
I felt
Or that is screaming. That is Stormin Norman. Yeah.
I felt Art Donovan coming out of you. Just like that sense.
You were face palming before I even started the impression.
I heard the stupid ass giggles. Like, oh god. But this match is pretty much STORMIN Norman, just beating the shit out of Mikey Whipwreck, as per any Mikey Whipwreck match.
As
I
per
guess.
usual.
You get a cool little Asai like Phoenix splash from Mikey, springboard version to the outside. And Mikey ends up winning, though, with the Franken Mikey.
Franken Mikey.
Is that what he calls it, or is just Joey Styles try to pop himself?
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Joey Styles, I want to say, and this is no disrespect to Joey Styles. I love Joey Styles. He's a guilty pleasure. Love him as a commentator. But it's definitely like a sign of the times during this show.
Yeah.
Because he is definitely talking about like women a lot, talking about certain things, and I'm just like, man, this is a different society, man. ECW was very special promotion because it's like you can't do some of the stuff they do now.
Yeah, Joey Styles has some quote. It's a very quotable show for Joey Styles, but I will say it's nothing worse than Jerry Lawler in WWF. I mean, I would say Lawler's probably more vulgar in '95 than Joey Styles was, but
I agree. I can agree with that. Yeah.
Talking about Medusa's big nose and how she has a horse face and Bertha Faye and oh god, it's the whole thing.
Yeah, Jerry Lawler was can't happen again.
Yeah, some things don't change. But
right.
Yeah, so Mikey Whipwreck gets the win over the Storm. Any other thoughts on this banger of an opener?
No, I barely watched it only because I was just like, I know Mikey Whipwreck obviously, but I'm like STORMIN Norman. I just had no experience with.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't miss anything. I mean, like the crowd chants are probably the most notable. It's like, you suck dick, asshole. It's like, this guy has so much heat. I've never heard of this guy in my life. But everybody seems to hate Mike Norman, so.
Right.
Fuck Mike Norman, I guess. The summary of this episode is fuck Mike Norman.
Right. Fuck Mike Norman.
But we got some gold on the line in this next match. The ECW tag team titles are on the line. We got the champions, Raven and Stevie Richards, versus Don E. Allen and the Broad Street Bully.
Tony Stetson.
He's you a hockey fan at all, Kenny? Big Ken Puccio?
No, not really.
So this didn't resonate with you when the Broad Street Bully throws off his gloves and starts punching him? Or did you even catch
That he was going for a brawl?
Yeah, because he's a hockey guy. Do you get it?
Well, I watch
I
watch and play hockey. I don't know hockey, as in like I don't know stats.
Right.
But yes, did it resonate with me? No, because the two of them were jobbers.
How dare you? You give some goddamn respect to Don E. Allen.
Right, but for the love of God, this was the Stevie Richards and Ravens show on Heatwave.
Oh man, it was
Like,
I mean, the show's like roughly 2 hours. I would say at least an hour is dedicated to these two plus Tommy Dreamer and Luna Vachon.
right, and I was almost like something I almost wanted to talk about. I'm like, man, is it that they don't do shows like that anymore, or was this a rarity? Because I don't remember people being involved in like 3 segments the way they were, 2 different matches.
Yeah.
It was like, were they missing some stars and they had to kind of fill some time, or was this just like they're gonna put this storyline throughout the whole show?
Actually, so I was curious about that as well, because there's actually a match on here that is a rerun of a previous show. So they literally just plucked a match from another show and put it in this show. So I'm wondering, like you said, like, were people just not available? Like, did the heat wave? I mean, because there's a legitimate like heat wave at this point in '95.
Right.
Did that cause trouble? Like, were people dying of heat stroke and like Sandman or Sabu couldn't make it, or what is it? But we also have people like Shane Douglas going to WWF. So I mean, it's possible maybe people are leaving the company, and I could have done research on it, but didn't really care enough to. But yeah,
Likewise.
Yeah. I learned from the best. But yeah, we got Raven and Richards here, and if you're listening and you don't care about Raven or Stevie Richards, well, just shut this shit off now, because it's mostly what we're gonna be talking about.
Exactly.
But so of course, Raven and Stevie Richards, it's pretty much a squash match. You get a Raven effect on both of them, both Don E. Allen and Tony Stetson. But as this is happening in the ring, Stevie makes his way to the outside to his admirer in the crowd, aka Francine.
Right. I was like, I had to run this back because I forgot this was how she debuted in ECW. And I had to run it back and be like, is that Francine?
It sure is.
Fun fact, she was also a photographer at some random WCW show I watched from like 92.
Really?
Yeah. So I've just a lot of Francine spottings recently for my WWE Network watching.
Man, so that's what you did your research on, is where Francine has popped up.
That's right. Has popped out. Right.
Oh. So we got Stevie Richards and Francine making out on the outside. Beulah McGillicuddy does not partake in this. The brother of Michael McGillicuddy. It's not like this. And so we get a cat fight between Beulah and Francine, because women, that's what ECW. They do. Women be crazy, right? So,
right. Apparently, according to ECW,
it's really. I mean, she probably should have worn better undergarments for this cat fight, because I don't know if she realized, but we could see all of her bosoms
and underwear and everything. But again, I don't know if something tells me ECW might have planned this
no,
way.
I think it was a little crass for my taste, so I don't think they would stoop to that level. But as this is all happening, Raven's like, cut the malarkey, Steve, and they're counted out as this is happening. So the jobbers win by count out, which there's count outs in ECW. I don't know.
Remember, they're figuring it out right though.
Yeah, it's a very transitionary period. So. But they attack the jobbers after, even though, I mean, they're still like dead and lifeless in the ring, but they continue to beat down. But then in come the Pitbulls, who have been at odds, because they formerly were aligned with Raven and Stevie Richards, but they turned on them at the last show due to all the disrespect they've been shown. And so the Pitbulls come in.
They were over, though. They were like, that reaction was pretty good when they came out. Like the Pitbulls. One thing I want to note on this show is like what I noticed was like, and I don't want to shit on things, but
please.
One thing I noticed is like, even the worst guys or the guys we may not remember as like top guys, they were of a certain level, even in ECW. Yeah. I feel like in today, for lack of a better term, you don't see the realism and the like grittiness that you see back then, where like everybody was relatively good on the roster.
Yeah.
And it's not a shot at WWE or AEW or any specific company, but it's just like the work rate is what I want to point out is a lot better. Even in like the next match we'll talk about, like the work rate's amazing for guys who don't necessarily look like they should be good workers.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a ton of guys on this card who are like when you think of ECW, you don't necessarily think of Hack Meyers, but the dude is like the star. He's a phenomenon. This Hack Meyers is. But before we get there, so the Pitbulls are here to fight with Richards and Raven. Then the Dudleys come in to fight the Pitbulls.
Wait, so let's point out though.
Yes.
This is the Dudleys before Bubba's there.
The white Dudleys.
Before Devon's there. So this is what? Dudley and who else? Big Dick?
Dudley.
Oh, Snot Dudley.
Big Dick is here as well.
Yeah, Big Dick is there.
The next show we get Dances with Dudley.
Dances with Dudley. So should we recap the Dudley storyline and kind of tell people what was going on here?
Honestly, I mean, you talking about like going forward or before this?
Before this, just to explain where we're at with the Dudley storyline.
Well, so this is the Dudleys actually debuted on the last show, and it was these two, it was Snot and Dudley, and I think they fought the Pitbulls if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that, but I believe they beat the Pitbulls, and that was kind of what drove the Pitbulls because it was Raven and Richards distracted them, and it was the whole thing. But yeah, we're at the very beginning here.
Right.
At this point, it's
Of
only
the whole
Dudley's
Dudley folklore.
Yeah, we're at the root of all of it. I have like very vague knowledge of the Dudleys and all of their family history.
Let's talk.
Please.
Let's talk. This is why I wanted to point this out. Because this is, again, we're in the infancy. The Dudley storyline was that Big Daddy Dudley was a wrestler that would go from territory to territory, and he would sleep with a local, and 9 months later, she'd pop out a little Dudley. So the storyline is that all these Dudleys kind of came together to wrestle. But that's why you had like Big Dick Dudley. You know, you'd have someone from Syracuse, you'd have someone from Alabama. I think that's where Bubba comes in, where he's supposed to be the Alabama one with like a stutter and the hillbilly kind of the group. Then of course, you know, I don't remember how Joey Styles said it, but it was like, you know, he got some of the chocolate, so Devon came in. Like that's like they said some shit like that.
Yeah.
And so Devon comes in, and then like, you know, it's the stupidest storyline, yet at the same time it's so ECW, and it's so perfect because they created a band of misfits that had that storyline made sense to be together.
Like, it is stupid, but at the same time I commend like the effort put forth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just like, okay, we don't know what the fuck to do with him. Make him a Dudley.
Sure, why not?
Let's
We got
see
some
what
more
he
tie-dye
does.
shirts. Yeah.
Right. Little Spike Dudley, LSD. You know what I mean? That's why he did the acid drop. You know, so these little stupid things, little quirky things that ECW would do. But the only reason I wanted to mention that in such detail is because I feel like, you know, with WWE obviously being the machine that it is, it's like we kind of lose that storyline, and we only know the Dudley boys as like the TLC guys and Bubba and Devon.
Right.
You know, so we forget about this whole storyline that happened before Bubba and then eventually Devon came into play.
Yeah, aren't like Bubba and Devon like at odds in the beginning? Like they don't like each other when they align. So
specifically, you know, Devon comes in like a Samuel L. Jackson type character. You know, that's where he gets the "Thou shalt not steal." It's kind of like a Pulp Fiction kind of thing.
Reverend Devon.
And Devon basically says you're all being silly. So he was the serious Dudley. He was the one that was just like, no, you're all acting stupid. Like, you know, I'm gonna bring some seriousness to the group. And then eventually he was at odds with Bubba. And then they become like a faction together, and they go after the other Dudleys, hence like him against, you know, Spike and things like that. So they became like the serious Dudleys, if you will.
Man, so
there's a whole
Dudley Civil
storyline.
War. There's a Civil War of Dudleys, man.
Correct.
And that would even continue in WWF. I think, did we? Because it was like 2001 where like Spike, it was like Spike versus the other Dudleys. And then TNA, I think even they did stuff with that. Like,
Brother Runt and stuff. So I mean, they kind of continued that, but like, the Dudleys is like a cool little spot of history in ECW.
Man, they just fight forever, huh?
Right. Speaking of AEW's first video game, where does...
So, this segment is hilarious because so the Pitbulls make a run in, then the Dudleys, then Dreamer, And then the Broad Street Bully, he's awakened from his beatdown. He's like, hey, we won this match. I want a rematch. And then Raven's back, and he kicks the shit out of both of them again. And then here comes the Pitbulls again. And here comes the Dudleys again. And here comes Dreamer. And it's like they replayed the same exact segment over.
The same scenario. They just reran it. They were like, we'll edit this in post, but they didn't.
Yeah. No, it was, yeah, let's take two takes. We'll keep the best one, but they just kept both of them. But it ends with Tommy Dreamer giving a DDT to Raven. Then you got Francine coming in. She attacks one of the Pitbulls, and then Beulah's back in. There's another cat fight. Now it's in the ring. And now Big Dick Dudley's out here. Takes out Dreamer. And I wish I could say we were over. This was over, but it is very much not. So,
right.
But yeah. But that brings us to a barn burner.
Match of the night.
We got Hack Meyers, the Shaw of ECW, versus Big Mally, Valpuccio. So again, this is the match. I don't know if I mentioned which match it was, but this is the match that happened at the last show. And for whatever reason, they were like, you know what? That was gold. Let's just run that back one more game.
Run this again.
And so yeah, this match. So Valpuccio, for anybody who's not familiar on the pooch. So he's 510 pounds. You got a problem? 510 pounds. This Valpuccio, which seems like a shoot weight to me.
I think they probably were underselling it a little bit. That man was big.
Because he's not a short man either. It didn't seem like it was.
No, he's a big guy. And Hack Meyers is a big guy.
He's a big guy.
Much less, what I'm saying is like he dwarfs Hack Meyers.
Yeah. And so this is what the match is. And by the way, first of all, it's like this match came on, it like cut to this match. I was like, God, why are these guys wrestling again? And then I heard Joey Styles make the same, like, 510 pounds. How does he weigh himself? What, do you get on a bathroom scale? I don't think so. And then what does he say? He says something about WCW Saturday Night and being a cure for insomnia. But I was like, oh, wait, he's either just redoing the same joke or this is the same thing. And it was indeed the same thing. But this match is pretty much, so Valpuccio will hit Hack Meyers with something like a splash in the corner, and then he'll jaw jack with the crowd for, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, and then he'll do it again. And ultimately, the finish comes when Valpuccio goes for an elbow drop, but he misses, and Hack Meyers just lazily puts his arm over and gets the 1, 2, 3. So the Shaw gets the win here and continues his run of dominance in Extreme Championship Wrestling. Thoughts?
So the reason I knew a promo from this is because I don't remember if it was the ECW Rise and Fall DVD or something, where they were talking about promos, and they cut to like, hey, we used to do the promos in the basement, Paul Heyman's mom, and it's Valpuccio. And the reason I know it's for this match, or at least this feud, is because, he's looking at the camera, and you can hear Paul Heyman in the background. He's looking at the camera, he goes, hey, yo, Hack. And then Paul Heyman's going, more! He's like, hey, yo, Hack. He's like, more. Hey, yo, Hack. Let me tell you something. And it's like Paul Heyman got Valpuccio to freaking cut an amazing promo on Hack Meyers because he kept telling him more. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And like fired him up. And it was just like, what I wanted to point out was like the genius of Paul Heyman. He could make someone like Valpuccio look amazing. Now, speaking of looking amazing, this is the match that I was kind of talking about. These two don't look like they should be good workers, but Hack Meyers is moving so amazingly for a big guy in this match that I actually took a step back and went, this was like a no-nothing match in ECW, and even this work rate was just amazing. You could tell Valpuccio at his size was trying his damnedest to have a good match. And so I was just like, kudos to both of them, because this match had no business being good, and yet it was decent,
I mean, yeah, there's something there. I don't know if I'd go as far to say that they're great workers, but I see what you're saying.
I said good workers.
Hold
on.
Good.
No, not great. Not great.
No, you thought this was 5 stars. You told me.
I did. 4.5. Let's not. Meltzer would be pissed if I gave it 5.
Just because it was in North America. I understand.
Right, in North America. It's not in the,
et cetera, et cetera. But so that we cut back to the current day show, and I know what you're thinking. You're like, man, I didn't get quite enough Raven and Dudleys before. Well, I'm here to supplement that with a 6-man tag match. We got Raven and the Dudleys, of course, Dudley and Snot Dudley, versus the Pitbulls, which is, of course, is a team of Pitbull number 1 and Pitbull number 2.
How long do you think Paul Heyman took to come up with that? Or maybe this was a Todd Gordon creation here.
Yeah, it sounds like a Todd Gordon initiative here. Tommy Dreamer's here as well. To call this a match would be kind of generous. It's more of just like a brawl around the ring. Bill Alfonso comes out at some point because Daddy. Yeah, I'm shutting this down. This has gotten out of hand. Is basically what he says. And well, I don't know if he shuts it down or what happens because it just like cuts. Say my panda. It cuts, and the match I guess gets restarted. You get a super bomb from the Pitbulls to Stevie, which prompts Francine once again to get back in there and give Stevie mouth to mouth, according to Joey Styles.
The fact that Stevie Richards got an hour on this show at least, and it's a 2-hour show.
Stevie Richards.
Not to say he was bad.
Yeah.
Not to say he was bad. I'm just saying he was like Raven's lackey at this time.
Oh, very
and he
much
got
so.
a considerable amount of time.
He's like, he played the role very well, though, Stevie Richards, at this
did.
point. I mean, pretty much, I mean, throughout his entire career, I mean, he's very underrated, in my opinion.
Underrated, right. Which is why he's in No Mercy.
Is he?
You don't know the joke about Steven Richards and No Mercy?
I think you might have told me this, but go ahead and refresh my memory.
So I think the joke is like in story mode, they had, I want to say, the Big Show or somebody featured very prominently. And then he gets sent back down to OVW or something like that, and they need to replace him in the game or felt the need to. So he got replaced with like Steven Richards.
I see.
Right to censor Steven Richards. So he became like it became a joke of like, need to dub over something? Steven Richards.
But Francine,
which is what they did in the show.
They just, yeah, exactly. They were, again, ECW's ahead of the curve, as always. Always more, the more Stevie, the better. That's what I always say. So Francine, Stevie, they're tangling tongues or whatever is happening in the ring. Then in comes Beulah again. By golly, we got another cat fight.
Cat fight!
I can't do it.
Then we get another super bomb, this time to Snot Dudley, and the Pitbulls get the win. If you're listening to this and you're like, hardest part of the ring, that's a very confusing way you just described what happened there. Well, it's even more confusing when you watch it because it's just a lot of nonsense happening. But I guess the Pitbulls win.
It's ECW. It's a clusterfuck at best in this whole pay-per-view.
Yeah, this whole show is just like, it's nonsense. But we're only at the tip of the iceberg here. But any other thoughts? I mean, we're going to touch on them a little bit more, I guess, probably later in the show. But
no, it's okay. If we're going to touch them later, then I don't really need to touch them now.
That's your motto. That's your life's motto.
That's Francine's motto with Stevie Richards.
Touch them later?
No, I touch them all the time.
Yeah, that's a different one.
Yeah.
It's a very different one. But I'll tell you who I'd like to touch. It's Dean Malenko. So we got a tag team match here. So this... Okay.
The Iceman.
The Iceman is here.
Man of 1,000 holds.
It's only like 3. So ECW would always have like a bunch of shit. Then always would have like one really good wrestling match. But for whatever reason, they felt the need to cut this match.
Cut this one, right? That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, what irritated me is this was the one I perked up for, right? Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm excited to watch, what was it, Taz and Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko and Too Cold Scorpio.
Yes.
So I'm just excited. I'm like, these are 4 of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I'm like, I'm gonna pay attention. And then it just cuts. And then it just cuts. And I'm like,
yeah.
We left Hack Meyers on the damn card, but this match. No, this match is the one that had to be cut.
Not only did we leave it, we left Hack Meyers on the card. We cut and pasted from a different show to fill time to put it. It's not even 2 hours. It's still like 10. It's like an hour 50. So it's like you can add 10 minutes to this.
Right. And that's why I wonder, like, was this, because if you look at the Peacock version, it says like it's presented to you in its most entirety. What is it? The the best to the best
form. Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of cut and kind of weird. So maybe like this match had like a whole 20 minutes probably missing from it, and it was recorded bad or something like that. So that's my guess on what happened and why they probably needed to fill with another match. But
I think they just didn't have faith that the ECW audience would care about wrestling. that's my guess, but who am I to say? I think because like I said, or like we both said, eventually they get to a point where you get like all the luchadors and the Japanese wrestlers, and that becomes like their thing. But we're not quite there yet. It's still a work in progress. But
I actually got scared during this match because I thought this was the match when Taz broke his neck, and then I was like looking for it, and I was like, oh no, wait, that was a match with like Tommy Dreamer or something, and Malenko and stuff like that. So
right,
but I don't think it's very shortly after that he breaks his neck in Florida.
Damn.
So
everybody's
gnarly stuff,
breaking their necks and shit. But yeah, so Eddie Guerrero is the TV champion at this point, but you wouldn't really know it with how this match was showcased. But from what we did get to see, there are some fun spots. I mean, you got a lot of good power bombs and suplexes by Scorpio and Taz, some top rope stuff. Eddie gets in with the hot tag and just cleans house. You can just, it's so fun. Like, we're still very early in Eddie's career, but you can tell that the dude's a star even at this point.
But you see that at the time though, how do I say this? That's what I mean by the work rate stuff. Is like Eddie's special. Eddie's like in my top 3, just FYI. But it's like I want to say there was a lot of guys who kind of had that kind of that level of work rate. So it's like he got lost in the shuffle at that time because you didn't really see how special he was until later on,
right,
when he put the character work to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he's about to head to WCW at this point. So
yeah,
and then the cruiserweight division there gets established at some point. So that's kind of when he starts to build up his reputation, I guess.
Right.
So we get like a doomsday drop kick from Taz and Eddie. And we get on the other side of the ring, like almost at the same time, we get like a suplex into a crossbody from Scorpio and Dean. Scorpio with the moonsault. And at some point, everybody's just like taking turns diving to the outside. And then 911, his music plays. And this distracts Scorpio.
And could we give the context of what it meant when 911's music played?
Tell us.
So 911's, if I remember correctly, see, I thought you knew. This is why I was throwing it to you.
I believe I do, but now give me your interpretation of it.
It was basically shit was about to go down. Like they had sent 911 to come end a match or something, and fuck up everybody in the ring. So 911 was like I don't want to say the innovator of the chokeslam, but like he was using a chokeslam which was not very common at the time.
Right.
And so he'd come out and just 911's music would hit. And it's basically Paul Heyman dialed 911, time to end this. He comes out, chokeslam, end of match. So Taz gets understandably distracted of like, oh shit, 911's going to come out to beat my ass. Now think of, I probably the best way to say it is think 3-minute warning in WWE. Yeah. When Eric Bischoff would say, did I just hear myself say 3 minutes? And then they'd come out and just fuck a motherfucker up. Like that was 911. Yeah.
Yeah, 911, from what I've seen, I mean, he's very much... It's almost in some ways a precursor to Wardlow as well. Like it's like he's one move, but he's so over. Like he's one of the most over dudes.
So over, right? And that's why I wanted to call attention to it because like there is a reason why they hit 911's music there. Yeah, because he was over like Rover at the time.
I don't know if I've even seen him have a full-on match, but he's had several segments where there'll be 5 jobbers in the ring, and he'll just take turns choke slamming each one of them several times, and the crowd eats it up from start to finish. But so 911, he's pretty much aligned with Taz and Paul Lee at this point. So Paul, he dials the phone, calls 911, but he doesn't actually come out. But his music distracts Scorpio, and this allows Taz to hit a half and half suplex on him for the win. So Taz and Eddie get the win. But Bill Alfonso's back. He's suggesting that Paul Heyman, he made an illegal call to 911, and
what the hell is an illegal call?
It's like a call, but it's illegal.
I mean, me calling my dad in prison when he's not supposed to be on the phone, that's an illegal call.
Right. Right.
What is an illegal call?
Bill Alfonso, I mean, he dubbed it an illegal call. So I guess there's certain parts of the matches where you can make phone calls to wrestlers, and maybe it was outside of that boundary. I would have to.
That's it. That's got to be
at the rule book, but
what rule book? It's ECW.
there's probably a PDF somewhere. I'm sure you can find it on the dark web. Speaking of dark web, Rob Feinstein's out here, and
great transition, by the way.
oh yikes! So Rob Feinstein's here. Of course, the owner of RF Video, who's I guess putting out, because this isn't a pay-per-view. This is like a VHS.
Right. This is because they keep mentioning ECW home video and stuff like that.
It wouldn't be till like 97 until they started doing pay-per-views, but
right.
So Rob Feinstein's out there for some reason. Him and Bill Alfonso were going back and forth. Can't really hear what's being said at all. But this allows, actually before this, so it's actually Paul Heyman and Bill Alfonso are going back and forth. Alfonso orders the match to be restarted, and then Scorpio and Dean attack from behind. Scorpio hits a super kick to Taz. Dean Malenko hits a Tiger powerbomb to Eddie, and Bill Alfonso makes the pin. So they get like a fluky win just out of nowhere, and then Rob Feinstein's in there all of a sudden, and then Alfonso and Rob Feinstein, I forget exactly what even happened, but I know at one point Rob Feinstein just put in the boots to Paul Heyman. And then now out comes 911, not just his music, and he gets in there, choke slams our old buddy RF, and then crowd is happy. So
right, he got fucked. Yeah, he got fucked.
He sure did. At least we got ROH out of it, right?
Right. Sure.
Well, speaking about getting fucked, I felt like I was getting fucked watching this next match. So we got the ECW World Heavyweight title is on the line. The champion, the Sandman, versus Axl Rotten. Whew, man, Joey Styles disgusted that Sandman is their champion.
Yeah, not happy.
This cigarette smoking, beer swilling. I guess that was the charm, though, right?
But it's funny that I've been, because they used the clip so much that I was conditioned. Like the shot that they did of the Sandman during his entrance, I thought Steve Austin was gonna hit him in the back of the head and then start pounding on him, because I'm so conditioned of that famous shot of him getting hit in his entrance that I expect it every time he comes out. Yeah,
I mean Sandman does. I mean that's his whole thing is his entrance. Another guy was like, if you don't have the real music behind it, it's like, why is this guy?
Yeah,
who is he?
This crappy remake. Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, no.
It's good stuff. It's a question. How familiar are you with the Rotten brothers, Axl and Ian, and their feud that they had?
Pretty familiar with the little match they had that was just brutal.
The Taipei death match?
Yeah.
It's good stuff. I mean, the entirety of 95 up to this point, like every show would have some Axl versus Ian match, and it'd be like a barbed wire bat match, and then it'd be a Texas death match, and then they culminated to what was it, a Hardcore Heaven, where it was the Taipei death match, in which
they had their hands taped and then put in glue, and then they went inside broken glass.
Yep, man, just one of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen. But throughout this, all these matches, Axl has gotten a lot of respect from the audience, and even me, like, because I've watched them all, and I'm like, man, I kind of care about Axl Rotten at this point. So I was kind of excited to see this match, but then the match happened, and so Axl has a barbed wire bat. Sandman, of course, has his Singapore cane. So Axl gets on the mic and he basically challenges him to a sword fight. So I don't know. We have a barbed wire bat versus a Singapore cane. I think the bat's gonna win every time.
I think so too.
So Axl gets the upper hand. Of course he does. Rakes the barbed wire all over Sandman's body. But eventually Sandman parries one of his shots and grabs the bat himself. It's like we're watching, fencing? Fencing. It's like a fencing match we're watching here. And at some point, Sandman unravels the barbed wire from the bat and just wraps it around Axl's face and throat. Like, Jesus Christ.
I couldn't get into this match though. I don't know why. It's like
stunk.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like I wanted to get into it, but then like I don't know if it was like Sandman wasn't selling the shots great, or it just didn't click. Which lets you know that like just because it's a hardcore match doesn't mean it's good.
No, not at all. Especially, I mean, we've seen so many like weapons already in this show, and we got cage matches later. It's like, I don't think anybody really thought Axl Rotten was going to win this match, but yeah, Sandman, like when he wanted to be good, he would like, there's one point in this match where he does like, and he's done this before. He has a cane in his hand. Axl was on the outside of the ring. Sandman just leaps over the top rope with this cane and just smashes Axl on the outside. Like, this dude has like some athleticism to him, Sandman does. Yeah, but like absolutely. You said, this match is very plotting for the most part. Just, hairs raking barbed wire over each other's bodies. That's pretty much what this match was. But Woman is out there, of course. Nancy Sullivan with Sandman. She gets in there with a cane, hits Axl in the back. But Axl eventually grabs the cane from her, clucks Sandman in the face with it several times. But then out of nowhere, Sandman just hits like a top rope famouser or something.
A bitchin' leg drop.
Is that what it's called?
Pretty sure.
That's hilarious, and I love it. But Joey Styles is cracking me up because he was putting it over like Sandman just fell, like he slipped and fell off the top rope and just happened to land on
like a drunk.
Yeah. But he gets the win here. Sandman does with that leg drop of sorts and retains his coveted ECW title here.
What a match!
What a match! What a match!
It really wasn't just not a good match.
Yeah, it was great. Like the ECW title. I mean, it just always gets thrown in the middle of these shows. It's like,
it's like an afterthought.
It really is. I mean, deservingly so, I guess. But even when Shane Douglas was a champion, it'd just be like, yeah, whatever. Shane Douglas for Cactus Jack here in the middle. Who cares?
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
We'll get there eventually, though. But now it's time to rage in the cage, everybody. So we have 2 more matches left, and they're both inside a solid steel cage. The first one, Stevie Richards.
What is this? A TNA lockdown?
Yeah, everybody, we're all locked down in the Impact Zone, everybody. Stevie Richards is, this is not 6 sides of steel. This is very much I don't know, probably a 6 foot high steel. It's like a fence.
Cage dance.
Yep, that's what they call it. Stevie Richards versus Luna Vachon, the I guess the first ever intergender steel cage match. I didn't research if that was true or not, but it sounded true to me. Richards comes out. He's petrified of this cage. Man, he just doesn't even want to, he like touches it and he's like, ugh.
And Joey Styles is going in talking about like, Stevie's not a man. Early in the show, he started talking about like, oh, he does like women. Like he's just going after Stevie Richards this entire show.
Yeah. Well, he's wearing silly Daisy Dukes, so like that means he's a lady.
Great cheeks though. Great cheeks.
Yeah. That hair though, man. Power. It was like Farrah Fawcett hair on this. Stevie Richards.
Some 1994 Tanya Harding hair going on here.
Come on now, getting me all hot and bothered here at Heatwave. So this match.
I see what you did there. It's the name of the pay-per-view.
Meatwave. So we got this another like what are we doing here? Like the Luna and Stevie, the bell rings. Then we get like this Benny Hill bullshit where Stevie's like running in a circle away from Luna Vachon.
Very hokey on Stevie Richards' part. Yeah, like that. When he bounces off the cage.
Yeah, it's very, Luna's just kicking the shit out of him.
But yeah, hey, could we talk about like after the Dark Side of the Ring episode, I think it was. Mm-hmm. I liked Luna, don't get me wrong. I had respect for her, but like I have a whole new appreciation for Luna Vachon and just like what she's done in the wrestling business. Like you could tell she was like bringing it in this match. She was doing her best to like be, not be thought of as like a woman versus a man, but thought of to be like an equal and to be beating the shit out of Stevie Richards properly. Like it's just, she did a good job. Like it's a good match. It's actually a good match. Yeah. After all said and done.
Like she's in there, she's bleeding. Like
yeah.
I mean, it's very obvious that she's a woman, but at no point are you like, well, this is ridiculous. Like she fit in like in this match. Like you believe that she could beat up Stevie Richards here.
Right. And mind you, we're talking with 1995 glasses here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We're not talking about with current glasses, like current perspective. This is like how they were kind of showcasing the women in ECW. The fact that they put Luna Vachon in a cage match, and Joey Styles was hyping her up too, so I mean, it was a hell of a match.
I mean, we're fresh off of seeing two women in thongs and skirts and heels just rolling around and calling it a cat fight, and now we have a legitimate steel cage match with a woman. So,
right,
some signs of progress here, I guess, in a way. But the one spot here that was crazy to me. So Richards goes to the top of the cage. Luna's like on the ground. Stevie jumps off the cage and lands on his feet. And Luna gets the boot up and and kicks Richards in the face. This reminded me of the Macho Man spot from was it Halloween Havoc or something, where ultimately blew out his knee for like the rest of his career. And I was like, man, that's a ballsy move to. I guess it's probably not as high as the WCW one, but still, insane.
It's still jumping off, and I've been in rings. And I'm like,
yeah,
it put everything in perspective when walking into a ring. If you're a wrestling fan at an independent show and you can step inside of a ring for 2 seconds, do it. Because it puts in perspective how risky a lot of the stuff is.
It is not a trampoline. It is very much plywood with a little bit of padding.
Right. And that top rope, what a lot of people don't realize, if you're an average size man, the top rope's maybe here on your face, here, somewhere in this vicinity. For some reason, the top rope looks like it's a lot lower.
Yeah.
But it's to tell you how high people are jumping and things like that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Too late.
Had 9 surgeries in my left. What is it? What's Rey Mysterio's thing?
I've had 5 surgeries in my left knee.
But man, Stevie. So the carnage is just aplenty in this match. But ultimately, the finish comes with a testicular claw. Guess who won with that? It was not.
Hold on. Give me a second.
Yep.
Carry the one. Luna beat Stevie Richards with it. Thank you.
Very good.
Joey Styles does put it over like crazy, but saying like, "Oh, he has balls. I didn't know."
Finally, we all know. I know it's been the question on everybody's mind. Oh, wait, hold on. No. So the testicular claw, right, gets the finish, right?
Right.
Joey Styles says, man, that was nuts.
Crickets.
Oh, man. And here we go again. Now the Dudleys are back. Now the Pitbulls are back. It's this brawl.
That's what I'm saying. It was literally the freaking Stevie Richards Raven. This is the 3rd time this has happened.
Yeah, and then so Luna continues to beat down on Stevie for whatever reason, but eventually Raven gets in the cage, locks himself in there with Luna. And Stevie, I guess, is still in there.
Right.
Luna
hits beating the shit out of the Pitbulls. Like they're trying to climb in, and he keeps hitting the cage wherever they are. So
at some point, Richards hits Luna with a low blow.
Right.
Well, I don't know what the logistics are there, but
I mean, it still hurts.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't know. But Richards hits the low blow, and then this allows Raven to hit the Raven effect onto Luna.
Oh, hold on, damn it. The Raven effect is a WWF move, sir.
Wait, okay. I thought Even Flow was Tommy's DDT.
I thought Even Flow was Raven's.
You know what?
We're gonna have to Google this
because
I thought the whole thing was Even Flow.
You might be right.
DDT.
You're right. You might be right here. Even flow.
I know it was Even Flow in WCW. Just for the record, I know that.
Shit.
But
I think you are right.
Right.
God damn it. Well, what about him? That's what I always say.
He's underrated. Raven, I think, in the grand scheme of things, is such an underrated wrestler.
Dude, I'm watching some of his ROH stuff right now, and he's the breadth of the stuff and the TNA stuff. Like, man, This dude's done it all. But then what happens is actually a pretty iconic moment in the history of ECW. So remember, everybody, there's a cage around the ring. Dreamer gets in the cage, locks himself in there, and I think he like smashes the door on Raven's hand, breaks his fingers, smashes it against his face, and then Dreamer handcuffs Raven in like a crucifix position against the cage wall. Someone, I don't know if it's someone from the crowd or what, or one of the Pitbulls, throws in like a steel pipe, and Tommy low blows Raven with it. And then a chair's in the ring. Tommy Dreamer takes this chair and gives one of the most brutal chair shots to the head you'll ever see, to the head of Raven. The crowd ate all of it. I mean, this felt like the culmination. I don't know if this is the end of their feud. I don't think it is. Maybe it is.
No, because I don't think it ends till like Raven leaves for WCW in '97. Mm-hmm. But this was a pivotal moment in ECW. This was like a that's like a shot they would use for the rest of ECW's existence.
Yeah, because then Tommy would then go in the crowd, and you have these huge ECW chants. And it was very much like an iconic moment for ECW. It was very big in establishing their identity going forward. But yeah, it felt like a big moment. You know, the way Joey Styles put it over, everything. So the match itself was whatever, but I mean, the ending segment here I thought was pretty cool.
The chair shot heard around the world as it became known.
Yes, until Jeff Hardy hit Brock Lesnar. But the cage is up. Might as well keep it up. For the main event is a tag team match. We got the Gangsters, the team of Mustafa and New Jack versus the Public Enemy, Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock.
Flyboy Rocco Rock, how dare you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, who do you think is the real OGs of these teams?
Lottie Dottie Dottie, we likes to party.
That's actually a really good point. I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah. So, I think the Public Enemy is very underrated. I
love the Public. I don't know what it is about them. I love the Public Enemy.
But that's kind of what I mean is like, you know, this is where I think we get, and I'm talking about we as a general statement amongst the internet, we get to be WWE marks sometimes, and it's like, yeah, they had a shit WWF run and they had shitty attitudes, but like in ECW, they were the first to use tables. They were you know, they got the crowd going. Like you would see people going, you know, remember it's the 90s with the rap, the hands to side. They would be, you know, getting the crowd all hype. They were doing these crazy moonsaults and things like that. So like, I don't want anyone to think Public Enemy was a joke at the time. Like they were, don't get me wrong. Their whole gimmick was a joke. But what I mean is like, they're not like a joke in the sense of like, oh, they're not important to ECW. They were a very big part of ECW's success. So,
I mean, they were, and you said it like right from the beginning, like they were one of the biggest factors in like transitioning their image from Eastern to Extreme. Like you said, they introduced the tables and the weapons. Like they were the first guys to do that. So yeah, they were very pivotal. And even at this point, I mean, the crowd, I mean, you see them waving their hands. Like everybody loves the Public Enemy. And they're decently, I mean, I don't want to say their like work rate is good or anything, but they're athletic dudes. Like they're moving around. There's like some, this match isn't a really good example, but generally there's like rhyme and reason to what they're doing.
This match was hard to watch, literally. Like it was like a hard cam the whole time, and it was like it was very hard to pay attention to what was going on.
Well, there just wasn't anything happening. I mean, it was like this this match to set the scene here. It's lethal lockdown. It's a cage with weapons set all around the cage. You have billy clubs, baking sheets, chairs, bats, frying pans,
a Snoop Dogg t-shirt.
Yeah, the most devastating one of them all.
Right.
Tables, of course, come into play here. And it's a bunch of weapons. I mean, this match is literally like the crowd will chant, grab or use the chair, and then a guy will grab a chair and use it. It's like that over and over again. Right. It's just guys hitting each other with weapons and bleeding a lot, which is they know their audience. I get, because this is one of those things where if you watch this match on mute, you're like, oh, this is awful. But if you listen to it, like the crowd is into it.
The atmosphere, the atmosphere is what you need to watch this match. And you know I love New Jack. I think everybody knows that one. New Jack's one of my favorites in terms of hardcore wrestlers. And it's like I feel like he didn't get to do much in this match, and he wasn't put on full display because New Jack could actually work. New Jack was actually a really good worker, and he's really good on the mic. But like I couldn't hear his fucking promo like at the beginning of the match. I barely could hear it, and then I think was it Johnny Grunge like dumped some water on his ass and something, like he does something stupid to taunt him, and then it's like this really I think suffered from the quality of the show in the sense of like how pixelated and how it looked, and the audio issues, because I feel like this match was probably a lot better than I thought it was.
I don't know, man. I mean, this is a rough, because it's just like there's no like peaks and valleys. There's no intro, then climax, and then finish. It's just like weapons, finish. Although like there is the spot at the end was fucking crazy. So
what that thing?
The spray?
Yeah.
No, before that, with the tables.
Okay, fair enough.
So you got the Public Enemy. They stack two tables, so one on top of the other. They somehow maneuver New Jack so that he's laying on top of the top table. Flyboy Rocco Rock heads to the top of the cage, moonsaults off the top of the cage through New Jack, who is on these stacked tables. It almost looked like he was short a little bit, but both tables were obliterated, and I mean,
But that's a Public Enemy's MO, like being shorter than the tables, but still just shattering them.
Just pure girth. And it looked, I mean, it was awesome. Like this is one of those things I rewound, and I spent most of the show wanting to fast forward it. So that's
I did. Funny enough, I did too. I actually, once I saw the finish to the match, I actually like rewound a couple seconds to watch that again.
Yeah, it was incredible. But yeah, so they can't capitalize on it, Public Enemy, because Johnny Grunge is busy checking on Rock to make sure he's all good. And this allows Mustafa, who was not on the table. He has, I guess it was spray, like paint spray or something.
Mustafa Saeed is like got some shit, and he's about to spray it in somebody's eyes.
Sprays it in the eyes of Johnny Grunge, rolls him up, and the Gangstas get the win after all of that. So Mustafa, New Jack, they're winners, but this feud is not over. But yeah, like I said, man, it's weird. It's hard to say that it's boring because there's a lot of brutal stuff that happens in this match. It's just
off.
Yeah, I just wasn't invested in it for whatever reason.
I think it was the quality, as in like just a hard cam. Right. You couldn't really tell what was going on in the ring. It actually makes me appreciate today's cage matches, where you get the like bird's eye view, or you get a cameraman in the ring, or something like that. You know what I mean? Your cat agrees, by the way. But it just made me appreciate the production value of even ECW in the next couple of years would go up drastically.
Right. Yeah, and I think even in the Luna Stevie Richards match, they had a guy in the in the ring, but with this, there's so much plunder everywhere, like you can't throw a cameraman in there. So I guess that's probably why. But yeah, to your point, it's very it's like a monotone. If a match could be monotone, this is what it would be.
Exactly. I think, and that's it. The lack of the camera moving and stuff made it just very vanilla. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it was alcohol infused, STD infused vanilla. It's really how I would describe this whole show, honestly. I mean, I'm looking through the card, because that kind of is a running theme here. Like Mikey Whipwreck, Mike Norman. It's like, okay, these guys are doing stuff, and then the match ends, and then the various brawls with Raven, Stevie Richards, and Tommy Dreamer, and then you have the ECW title match of Sandman and Axl Rotten. It's just there's kinks that they need to work out, ECW, and this show was one big kink, I felt like, but seemed like the ECW, like the audience in attendance, had a good time. So
they did, and I think but we have the perspective of hindsight, where this was definitely a transitional show for them, and it's very obvious. But the crowd at the time was just like, "Fuck yeah!" There's grown men beating the shit out of each other. This is awesome. Yeah, and Hack Meyers, ultimately Hack Meyers versus Valpuccio, stole the show.
Yeah,
it wasn't even at the show.
It stole the show for 2 shows in a row. Hopefully it's on the next show too. You know what? I actually looked at the card after this. I think it's Gangsta's Paradise, and it has fucking Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis. I was like, ah, man, I wish I was watching that instead. But they probably cut that, you know? But,
Right. Well, it wasn't WrestlePalooza after this?
It might be. Was that I think that might have, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just.
I don't know anything about anything.
No.
What happened at WrestlePalooza?
But look, okay. We won't talk about WrestlePalooza. Let me tell you why. Match number 2, Valpuccio defeated Tony Stetson. We will not talk about that event.
Yes.
The less big Valpuccio we get, the better.
Oh man, I'm a big pooch guy myself. But
You love the pooch.
Speaking of loving the pooch, I got nothing. So Kenny, yeah, any other thoughts on Meatwave 95?
No. I thank you for letting me watch an ECW event. It's been a while since I've gotten to watch one of the older ECW events. I'm usually watching the 98-99 match. I don't know, a little known fact, my favorite match is actually an ECW match, which is RVD versus Jerry Lynn from Hardcore Heaven 99.
Yeah.
And so that's why I laugh if somebody online, on my social media at AKFYT Wrestling, when they call me like a WWE mark, I'm like, my favorite match is an ECW match where it's like hardcore chairs and like
right
crazy spots and things like that. It's like Will Ospreay versus Ricochet on steroids.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, ECW, they'd figure it out. They'd get to those tons of classic matches eventually. Speaking of classic, I mean, Kenny, for your thoughts, pretty classic to me. Now it is. It's
I know. It's archived.
Any plans to bring that back in the future?
I think I'm kind of wanting to do something, but not necessarily the podcast again. I don't think, at least not with Brandon, because what people don't know is Brandon ended up getting pregnant after the show with my child.
Oh, congrats!
And yeah, so I'm just kidding. But
you found the chocolate too, huh?
Big Daddy Dudley was a big influence in my life. And I definitely have my YouTube channel still running, things like that, but I think I'm gonna kind of utilize it for different purposes. So Kyle, if you want to start an OnlyFans with me, let me know.
Yeah, well, we already have our joint chatterbait, so I gotta see legally.
That's why
what we can
we're
do.
wearing the same shirts. So.
Yeah, I mean the pandas are there as well.
Right, pandemonium back there.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's called, pandemonium. Panda. I think we can get one more panda pun in before we call it quits here. Pan
If you're still listening.
Once again, thank you to Kenny from the Kenny for Your Thoughts podcast for joining me on today's episode. I think next time we're going to do a little ASMR episode where me and Kenny just talk about our feelings, talk about pandas, talk about being vaguely Asian, talk about who looks more like Wheeler Yuta, and talk about Shane Douglas's package. So, you ever just get lost at a thing? You ever just forget what you're talking about mid-sentence? But yeah, go check Kenny out. All of his social medias in the description. Good follow on all the all of the MySpaces. So go check that out. And yeah, apronbump.com for all my full episodes, all my merch. Give the show a rating, if you please. If it's positive, if it's negative, shove it up your ass. Yeah, 5 stars up your ass, and I'm out of here. So that's all Daddy has for you today. Thank you guys so much for listening. I feel like I'm getting quieter as I talk. The softest part of the ring is a little sick today, and I don't want to wake her, on top of, me being self-conscious about talking to myself. I don't want to wait. I mean, she's had food poisoning, violent diarrhea for hours. So, this is going to be the one episode she listens to. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm hard.
Yeah.
It's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing I guess. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is.